This conference will now be recorded.
You can see my screen, Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm able to see.
Perfect. So before we get started, right, I will quickly introduce myself. I'll just, uh, give the context of today's call, and we can take it
Okay.
forward from there. So my name is Panish. I've been working on training on microstrategy since for years now, and yeah, we do have two types of enrollments from the training standpoint. One where we focus on architect and development training. Another is where we concentrate on administration. So I assume hereby that you're looking out for the administration, microstrategy administration training, right? And definitely,
Correct.
I'm gonna walk you through as to what are the topics that we do cover up, how we cover up, and how the training has been laid out. So I would say this is pretty much from my end. It will be great if you can introduce yourself and what is the expectation of this particular training so that we can pace it accordingly.
Yeah, actually, currently I'm working in MicroStrategy only as a developer. So, as a part of enriching the skill, like I want to know more about the admin part, like server setup, migration, so security filters. So I want to explore that things. So that's why I came to this training.
Absolutely. So good to know that you have been already working on MicroStrategy. So definitely, you would be having a good amount of knowledge, at least about the tool, and definitely it's going to help you. And we will make sure that we cover everything from the admin standpoint. So if we really look over here, these are the topics that we consider under the administration training. So first of all, we start about the architecture of MicroStrategy. Working on
Okay.
tool is definitely one thing, but apart from that, we need to understand as to what are the components that makes up your tool. So we will see how basic infrastructure has been set up, how the environment has been set up in all the modes: direct connection, server connection, web connection, and so on. So under the architecture, we will cover that specific part as to configure your microstrategy environment in 2 tier, 3 tier, and 4 tier architecture. Once your project or once your environment has been configured, right, we need to, sorry, I would say first of all, whenever we say 2 tier, 3 tier, and 4 tier, it covers everything, like basic installation, configuring of metadata, configuring of server, configuring of project sources and projects, and then you connect your required warehouse. So this is something the entire admin team does it, and thereafter only a particular developer or architect can start working under it. All right. So once you create a project, which all users can access that particular project, how they can access it, what kind of privileges that they would have. It's something that we will cover under user manager. So user creation, group user creation, project access, authentication, deliverables, user profile folders, and so on. So all the things would be covered under user manager. Thereafter, we take in bit of advance where we consider about the security rules and security filters. When I say security rules, it's like it's creating a group of privileges that can be assigned to the user and the user groups, and it can be the same security rule can be assigned across multiple projects thereafter. Security filter is more from the data restriction standpoint, that we will see that how a particular user can be restricted to see only certain amount of data. So that's where the security filter comes into picture. We will also consider cluster nodes. It's not nodes, it's nodes. So when I say nodes, it's like you want to have your project configured on more than one I server. So if something goes wrong with your one server, it can be taken by the second server, maybe for the load balancing and so on. Thereafter, we will see something apart from the monitoring standpoint as to how loaded is my server, what kind of jobs currently have been executed, how many users have been connected to my environment, how many databases connections have been opened, and so on. So all this comes under the job monitoring, kind of a project monitoring, I would say. Thereafter, we covered the caches. What are caches? How you can purge the caches? What are the settings that are available for how many time frames you want your caches to be enabled, and so on. Thereafter, we have something that, as I think this is something which will be already covered earlier. That is how to create the database instances and how we can connect to the projects and so on. I'll take a pause over here. Any questions so far? Thereafter, I'll just walk you through
Uh,
on the other topics as well.
okay. In database instance, like you will cover up that multi-sourcing also. No?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
one
Okay.
project can be connected to one database or it can be connected to multiple database. Yes, definitely we're gonna cover that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, then we have something called as schedules. Now you would have heard about the subscriptions as an architect or developer. I think you have already worked, so you would have created certain subscriptions as well. But as we know that every subscription needs a triggering parameter that is called as schedule. At what instance of time my subscription has to be kicked off. So either it could be a time based or it could be a event based, right? So those schedules are something which only an admin team can create it or admin team can configure it. So that is also we're gonna cover. And I think subscription is something, I would not say it's only the administration task. It can be done by the developer or architect as well. But still, we make sure that we cover under our administration module. Now, apart from this, there are a lot of properties which gets associated with your projects. Okay, so the project source properties and the project creation properties and so on. The best thing whenever we say microstrategy administration, right? All the admin related managers have been covered over here. So you call it either it's an object manager, command manager, integrity manager, system manager, enterprise manager, and so on. So all the admin, all the the manager things that you heard, it's all about administration. How I can migrate my objects, how I can migrate my projects from one environment to other environment, how I can write a scripts and perform certain activities, how I can create some workflows and do some automations, how I can collect some statistics and create a statistical reports and so on. So all these things would be covered under the manager topics, like the, as I said, the integrity object, command, system manager, enterprise manager, and so on. The next thing is the narrowcast. Now, see this. Sorry, not this one. This one. Now, the narrowcast is something which is
Hi,
present.
Panish.
Yes, please. Yes,
Kalyan,
please.
Kalyan here. Sorry to hold you.
No problem. Tell
Uh,
me.
no, while you are doing this one, what is this integrity manager stand for?
The integrity manager is something where you can compare the reports across environment. Now, let's say for an example, uh, you have migrated some reports from dev to test, and you want to make sure that your reports have been migrated successfully. So what you can do, there are two or three types of tests that you can perform within the projects, across the projects. I'm giving an example about across the projects. So what you can do is you will say, okay, run this report from project one, from environment one, versus the same report in project in different environment. So it will compare the SQL, it will compare the data if you want, and it will show you what are the components which are matching or not matching. So that kind of an integrity test that MicroStrategy can perform. So there are four types of reports, four types of tests that you can generate from your integrity manager. We say as baseline versus baseline, baseline versus project, project versus project, and so on. Does it helps?
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, sure. So you will show, yeah, while you are explaining, you will show how this integrity manager.
Absolutely.
Still have a question how exactly we can compare with the, I mean, old version versus new version. I mean, how we going to compare with the dev version versus production version? Example. Yeah, I'm interested
Absolutely.
to, yeah, interested to see that. We'll see once we are, yeah, thank you. Thanks for explaining on that.
No
And
problem.
One more
Mm-hmm.
question. One more. What is this command manager? Is the command manager which we are talking about? I mean, intelligence server retrieving the data using the MicroStrategy queries. Is that correct?
Scripts, yes. So there are a lot of scriptings that you can do, and through command manager scripts, you can do any activity. It's not only about the I would say the intelligence server properties. You can do anything. You can create user, you can create objects, you can create subscriptions. You can do a lot of things using command manager scripts. So now let's say for an example, right? I ask you to create 100 users in your project. Now manually,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a tedious job. Right click, create new user, and do this. Instead of that, just create a scripts which will create all the 100 users for you, and you execute those scripts, and your
Yeah,
choice
yeah,
becomes
that's
big.
correct. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, go
All
ahead,
right.
go ahead.
Okay. So Kalyan, I think you have already attended a few calls earlier, right? So today's call we're gonna keep it short. I'm gonna walk you through about the topics. I will open up for any questions that you guys have, and I'm definitely looking forward that we start from the first batch, or like the first call, where I want to really practically implement. So today would not be feasible. I'm gonna give you about the training structures and everything to Prabhu as well, and then we can take it forward from there. All right.
No problem, no problem, no problem. Sure, thank you.
Perfect. No problem. Now, the next thing that we have it on our list is narrowcast subscriptions. Now, narrowcast, I would say, it's been part of MicroStrategy since long, since 7.x, 8.x version. Now, narrowcast was been known as a powerful subscription tool. Okay, a powerful subscription component through which you can subscribe for reports, and also you can do a lot of things under that. But since the introduction of your distribution services within the MicroStrategy architect itself, right? The When you log in into the MicroStrategy web, you can make a use of distribution services, and you can create subscriptions as well now. So Narrowcast has been, it's not been installed by every organization these days because they try to leverage the distribution services as much as possible. But still, it's a part of MicroStrategy, so we're gonna make sure that we cover that particular component as well. Thereafter, this is okay. Installation and uninstallation process. The next thing would be very interesting for you guys would be version upgrade steps. Now we know that MicroStrategy does come up with new releases every time. So in case as an administrator, I want to make sure that my current environment is upgraded to the latest version. What are the things and how are the things that needs to be done? So even that we will cover under our training. So we will take a dummy of a lower version of MicroStrategy, okay, and we try to upgrade it to the newer version. Okay, so we will see how to take a backup, how I can configure to upgrade my environment, and so on. And the last few things I would say is more from the, I think this is something I have already told you about the server configuration, metadata, web server configuration, how to leverage the distribution services. That is also a part, I would not say completely part of administrator. It can be done by the architect and developer as well. This is interesting because that's something we generally prefer to have it as well. That is mobile configuration, correct? How I can configure my environment so that it can be accessed across by mobile devices. It could be iOS device, it could be Android devices, and so on. And thereafter, we will see how I can also add a plugin, my MicroStrategy plugin under Microsoft products like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and so on. So even from there, you can access your MicroStrategy environment. Okay, so this is, I would say, that will cover your entire administration training. I'll take a pause over here. Any question that you have with respect to the training content, please let me know. Or anything that you want to add which has not been listed over here, you can definitely let me know on that as well.
Uh,
Mhm.
content it's fine, Manish. And is there anything like we can work on the server? Like you have any credential? You guys will give any credential to us?
Now see what happens is we are not into same domain. Okay. So about the installation process, what I would suggest that you can definitely go with the evaluation version. Okay. And see, during our training, it's all gonna be practical implementation. Okay, I really
Mm.
don't believe in going through PPTs and theoretical. So it's gonna be all practical implementation. We're gonna take a topic by topic. We will make sure we actually implement within our project. I would suggest that you install the software on your laptop itself, and you will have the recordings of our daily calls, right? So you can definitely refer to those recordings. You can try it out from your end, and in case you're stuck with something, or in case it's showing any kind of an error or something similar, we can definitely discuss on that. I can make you presenter. We can definitely do it on your laptop as well, and so on. But sharing the same environment would not be feasible because we are sitting into different locations. We are not into the same domain, and that's the reason we cannot access the same environment.
Okay. Actually, I have a problem. In my laptop, I installed 9.4, and without knowing that, I install again 10.4. Now I'm not able to uninstall actually my laptop.
I will help you out. That's not a problem. I will certainly help you
Yeah.
out. What is the error that is coming up, and I will make sure that I will make you a presenter. I will see what is the error that has been thrown, and we can see. It should not be a problem.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so this is about the training content. Uh, we are expecting few more people who have already enrolled, so I'll keep it short, and I think we are already 35 minutes past. So apart from that, what I will do is I'll just explain you about the microstrategy architecture. Okay, now see, this is something that we need to know. What are the components that makes how microstrategy really works, right? Now this is something that you work on any warehouse project. What are the things that need to know? A backend and a front end, correct? Now the backend is something where your entire data processing happens. Front end is something where my reporting and the dashboarding has been executed. On the left hand side of the line, you will see the backend part where I have my source system, the actual source of data, my ETL processing, and my maintenance of database and data warehouse. Now, on top of this, we need a reporting tool, and specifically considering MicroStrategy. Now, there is a one more important component which makes your MicroStrategy more powerful is something called as metadata. A metadata and data warehouse is complete two different repository. Okay, so don't mix it up. Data warehouse is something where your organization data resides on which you want to do your reporting. Metadata is a repository where all the information about your activity and environment has been stored. So in case you do any activity within your MicroStrategy, right? You create a project, you create a user, you create any object, you modify, you delete, all the corresponding information and definition will be stored in metadata. So definitely it's the first thing that whenever an administrator setups the environment, right, it's the first step. They understand as to how to configure the metadata and how to configure the servers. So whenever you request for any kind of an information from MicroStrategy, you execute, let's say, a simple report, customer wise revenue. So the first thing it will do is it will come to metadata. As I said, the metadata holds the information about all your objects, right? So when I try to run this report, I have placed two objects, customer attribute and revenue metric. So once it comes to the metadata, it will try to retrieve these object definition. It will see customer as an object is pointing to which table and which column. Revenue as an object is pointing to which table, which column, what kind of aggregation. So once those definitions have been fetched out, it will help you to formulate the SQL query, right? Because it has every information, tables, columns, aggregation, every information. So it will formulate the SQL query over here. And once we have the SQL query, it will open a connection in the warehouse, execute that SQL, get the data, and then finally display back within your report. So this is how the entire process happens. And as an administrator, we need to make sure how I can configure MicroStrategy, how I can configure metadata, how I can create a connection to the warehouse. So these three components, we really have to make sure that they interact with each other. And that's going to be where we're going to discuss in the initial of our administration training. Does this make sense, guys? Any question over here?
No.
Okay. All right. So this is all about your the architecture. Now, from the training standpoint, I'm saying that you can install any version. I would prefer to have it 10.x. That is preferable, because 10.x can be used to leverage more options from your distribution services, system manager workflow, which is came from 10.x and so on. So I would definitely recommend that you can install the latest 10.11 version as well. That should be okay. Or at least I would say, in case you don't want to install the new software or you already have it software, just try to make sure that it is 10.x, so that we can definitely cover all the latest topics, and you can have a privilege to do your hands-on exercises as well. Apart from this, from the training duration standpoint, it will last around 2 to 3 weeks for sure. Okay, that depends upon candidate to candidate, batch to batch, but on an average, it does takes around 2 to 3 weeks to cover all the topics within the administration. I have told you earlier that all the calls would be recorded and it will be shared with you. And yeah, I think this is pretty much. And yeah, last point, it's going to be around same time as you have logged in today. Most probably it's going to be around same time. Okay, so I hope that the expectation is already been set up, and in case you have any questions, do let me know, or else I will just request to start with the first call, so that at least you will get to know how we really conduct the actual content training. Okay, so this is that I have from the demo standpoint. In case you have any questions or you want to discuss on anything, please let me know.
No, Manish. It's fine.
That's fine. Perfect. So thank you so much for joining in. Uh, Most probably we will have the first call from tomorrow itself, but still I will get it confirmed from the classes. All right.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.